Welcome to the Basket Buds edition of the Athletic NBA Show podcast on the Athletic Podcast Network. I'm your host, Zach Harper. We got Mo Dakhil, we got Jay King, we got Trevon Edwards, and we got ourselves a show. We'll talk John Morant. We'll talk about Chris Paul. We'll talk about, I don't know, a little bit about Michael Jordan. I don't have many thoughts on Michael Jordan selling the Hornets other than he made almost $2 billion. And I feel like it's the equivalent of like, what if he had made billions off his shoe line, but it was just the Jordan 2 that came out? That's what it feels like to me in terms of Michael Jordan selling the Hornets. But we start off with the big news from Father's Day. It's not often a father gets their son a gift on Father's Day, but that's what Mark Bartelstein did for Josh Bartelstein. Mark Bartelstein, the agent of Bradley Beal, Josh Bartelstein, the CEO of the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns are getting Bradley Beal in exchange for, at least as of right now, Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, a handful of second-round picks, according to Shams Charania, and multiple pick swaps because they have no first-round picks to deal because they sent them all to Brooklyn for Kevin Durant. There might be a third team involved. They're still getting the framework of the deal finalized and might involve Chris Paul going elsewhere to a contender, or this might just be the deal. I mean, look, I feel like you can't say, I hate when people are like, well, my pickup run, we do this in basketball. You can't equate stuff like that. And I hate when people equate things to fantasy sports leagues, but I do feel like this trade would be vetoed in any fantasy sports league that is taking itself even semi-seriously. Look, it's a weird trade for the Suns in that they're already at the luxury tax with this year, with Beal, with KD, with Booker, and with Ayton. Those four players put them at the luxury tax, not the salary cap, the luxury tax. On top of that, starting the following season, 2024-2025 season, Beal, Durant, Booker each make at least $50 million. So we're talking 150 in 2 years, 150 off the rip for just those three guys. It will be very hard to build out a roster past this summer. Like they still have a little bit of wiggle room to like go get a couple of guys, but not much. It's going to be a lot of please play for the veteran minimum, or hopefully you find some, you pull a Miami Heat and you just find a bunch of undrafted guys that you can develop right away.
I'm going to tell you right now, by Thursday, it's going to be looking a little bit different, buddy. I'll tell you right now. Look, that 1 7-footer about to turn into 3.
Yeah.
Not 3 7-footers, but 3 players.
But Trey, that's what needs to happen, right? Like they have no depth. I still like I know everyone tries to be anti super team and all this bullshit. I just think you're dumb. If you're like, oh, super teams can't work. Yeah, they can. You just need everyone to buy in and you need to stagger minutes. I actually think Beal and Booker complement each other well. I don't think people realize how much of a playmaker each of those guys have been for like 5 seasons, right? Like they're not lead, but they're going to run the offense through any of those 3 guys. You can make that work, that balance. The problem is filling out that roster. Like, all right, let's say they turn Ayton into 3 guys by Thursday, Friday, whenever, sometime this summer. All right, so they got 6. Right. There's still not a lot of guys, right? But
so they're gonna bring back Landale, Craig, Campaign. He might be out of there. He's got a non-guaranteed.
All the guys who are
sorry, Campaign, if you secretly listen to this
in the playoffs this past year,
right? Like, yeah, no, I'm telling you. Listen, listen, and
hey, Torrey Craig battled. Don't
Torrey
do
Craig was okay.
Torrey Craig battled, man. He battled.
I ain't gonna get nobody in trouble. I'm gonna shut my mouth, but
yeah,
just know it don't win championships though. I'll say that. Yeah. I'm personally out on getting a 3rd star. I'm more on give me 2 good guys and just fill it out with the roles and needs.
I just don't know.
That's what I'm rolling with.
I just don't know if can you have 3 stars where it's all offense, right? Book can defend and KD can defend, although I just like his body holding up. That's the concern at this point, right? But that's 3 dudes of offense. Like for me,
Beal's body holding up as well.
Well, yeah, that's true. For me, I love going all offense, but that's my style of what I like. I'm not saying that's a good style for winning a championship, but it's just, man, it's a bold move. Matt Ishbia has made 2 bold moves as the new owner of the Suns, and we'll see where it goes, Mo.
I mean, it's first off, this screams
White boy
Isaiah
Rick.
Thomas. This screams Isaiah Thomas all over it on the trade. Let's just load up on all this offense and get as much as we possibly can without even understanding that, when the new CBA comes in and that second tax apron hits, this is the team. They have really no ability to sort of add players after that. Everybody's going to have to take the 1.6 vet minimum. Good luck with that, with all of those things. And then the other thing too, with like three really good players.
I think it's 2.1.
Yeah. Well, in that case, never mind.
Man,
We're good.
All right.
We're good.
All right. Most turned down $500,000. It's not a big deal to him.
No, but the thing is, though, these are all like so many duplicate sort of just skill sets in that sense. Nobody's there's a really solid defender that you feel confident with. They don't have anybody that can really guard the super quick guards whenever Ja Morant gets out there, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and those types of guards that they're going to have to deal with, De'Aaron Fox, and just in the West. And I feel like this is just one of those things. It's a weird trade because they didn't give up much at the same time.
That's the thing. They gave up nothing.
Nothing.
Right. Maybe that pick swap down the road fucks them, right? But they gave up nothing.
We don't even know when the pick swaps are, right? Like, who knows?
Well, that's why a lot of people were like killing this trade. They're like, oh, this is a bad combination or whatever. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but they didn't give up anything. They're tied. Their hands are tied financially. Their hands are going to be tied financially anyway. Like, it's just
right.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It's a weird trade, and at the same time, you're kind of like, it's kind of a good trade because they were getting rid of Chris Paul. Like, that was the deal, right? If they didn't find a trade for him at any point, they were going to just waive him or stretch him or whatever. Like, he wasn't going to be on the roster next year, and they turned him into Bradley Beal. Landry Shamet, 8 points in the playoffs. Turned him into Bradley Beal.
I don't know. I don't know if you're saying total or average, but that's both of them sound right.
Sure.
Yeah.
It just feels right. No, but like average. But even then, like, you don't give up much. I don't think this is a great trade. I don't feel confident this is going to work, but I want to see what they turned DeAndre Ayton into, because I think that was the one big takeaway when I walked away from this trade. I was like, oh, Ayton's gone for sure. And then let's see how they build the rest of the roster out, because they got so many holes to fill.
Just because you need other pieces. That's why Ayton's gone. Not necessarily because he wouldn't fit next to the other guys. I think he would. It's just you need more basketball players on this team who can play minutes in the playoffs too. You just need more of them. And I think two things are true while I see other people dissect this trade. One, Bradley Beal is getting totally overlooked here. I feel like his level of talent
he's pretty good,
so high. Especially you turn Chris Paul, who was clearly on the decline and well into a decline.
Yeah.
And Landry Shamet, who's like nothing, to get Bradley Beal, who's 2 years removed from a 30-point per game season when he was just absolutely awesome. He's also very good off ball. Like Bradley Beal he's a great cutter. He's great off ball. He's a pretty good passer. I think he's going to fit better offensively next to those guys than a lot of people realize. Frank Vogel is going to have to convince somebody to take more threes somehow.
Right.
And also, Frank Vogel is a really good defensive coach. They have, at the very least, size on the wing with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Athleticism on the wing with all those guys. I'm not saying it's going to be a great defense because, again, we don't know who else will be on this roster, but Frank Vogel is a great defensive coach with a few guys, and Bradley Beal is going to have to play defense totally differently than he has the last few seasons because he has not cared.
Yeah, you mean play it.
Well, he has not cared in Washington, and maybe a situation change helps him buy in on that side, and then you get a totally different Bradley Beal on that side, in which case he looks a lot different, but he needs to look a lot different because he has not cared in a while on that end of the court. But then as I also look at this trade, the second part of this is I don't know if I don't see them as like top tier title contender even after this trade, just because they have no depth. I can't trust Durant and Beal to stay healthy. I don't know how they're going. Are these guys going to complement each other? I don't think it'll be perfect. I think it'll work because they're all super talented, and But I also I have so many questions about that on top of all the future questions which come with the second apron and being stuck with this roster and having no ability to improve the fringes of it, which they need a lot of improvements on the fringes.
But also Beal's trade clause travels.
Yeah.
There's no trade. So even if they wanted to make a move or make a change, he has a no trade still because Washington completely.
Which one, them. Josh or Mark?
Mark.
That's the question.
Josh might have just hamstrung his team for years and years.
Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. Visit linkedin.com/NBA show 23 for more information. Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and the seller at every stage, especially when the sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales, and we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/NBA show 23. That is linkedin.com/NBA show 23 for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/NBA show 23 and get started.
The question I've got is, all right, if the Heat aren't allowed to trade for Damian Lillard this summer, how loud is Pat Riley about tampering?
Oh, he's already made a call. Forget about if they can trade for the Heat. He's already made the call.
I was talking to someone on Saturday, about like the Beal trade, or the potential the Beal trade, right? And they were like, "Oh, he's going to Phoenix." I was like, "Yeah, I think so too." But I just what is it? They're like, "It's going to like Bartlestein. Like this is done, right?" Like, and it's part of the beauty of having agents crossover from the agent world to the the executive world and everything. Like it is, we saw relationships for Pelinka work out. We saw relationships for Bob Myers work out. Like this is just gonna be what it is. And I don't know, there's gonna be a point where LeBron owns the Vegas team and Rich Paul's the the president of basketball operations. Who knows what happens? Like, but it's gonna you have this crazy crossover where to me, yeah, the basketball part's interesting, but how are all these teams not like, yo, what the fuck? Like,
right. I mean, that's the real question. And that's that's the part of the trade that the NBA is going to really have to investigate. I'm sure they're checking everybody's phones. Like, remember that whole tampering deal and all of that stuff.
That should be a TV show where they check their phones. That should be like,
I don't.
You want to get eyes.
See what text messages
I
Mark
do.
Bartlestein's
You want to get eyes on NBA TV. Throw that shit on NBA TV. Now you'll get some viewership.
Still probably wouldn't.
Are you kidding me? Mark Bartlestein's text messages wouldn't get. All right, you're out of your mind.
This wasn't tampering. The Wizards had to work with Bradley Beal's people to find a trade because he had a no trade clause, because they were stupid enough in the first place.
For sure. And he just happened to want to go to where Mark Bartlestein's son is a CEO. You're right.
They gave him $250 million and a no trade clause.
Yeah, absolutely. And they got back a great package of a Hall of Famer, a valuable role player in Landry Shamet, a bunch of picks, second round, and pick swaps. Yeah, no, hey, you want to sell it, Jay? Let's sell it.
That's how you sell it, right?
It's a shit trade for Washington.
So Washington set itself up to accept a shit trade by doing everything they've done with Beal in the past. They should have traded him years ago. They kept him. They signed him not just to a supermax, but a supermax with a no trade clause that, even though Beal is still good, is one of the worst contracts in the league because of how big it is, how long it is, and the fact that it's possible he's on the decline after tailing off defensively. And even his offensive numbers haven't been the same the last couple of seasons.
He turns 30 in a couple of days.
So it's possible you're getting 4 years of Beal at $207 million while he's on the decline.
Mark Bartlesty's a good agent. He is a good agent.
Great agent.
Great
agent.
Incredible agent.
The only guy who had a no trade clause in the league was Bradley Beal. Who would have ever guessed that?
So the Wizards set themselves up in the past that this was always going to be a bad trade. Yeah. Because Beal could steer himself wherever he wanted to go. His contract is bad. Like we're not going to be a lot of options here. The thing about this that makes it fine for me is you get rid of all future. They didn't take any future money in this deal.
Right. Yeah,
they're going to have all the flexibility that comes with that. They're going to be really bad. So you're not just getting all the second round draft picks and the pick swaps. You're also getting your own pick, which is going to be a top 5 pick now because you're no longer going to be in the fighting for the ninth.
And Victor Wembanyama's in that draft, or I mean, they did this a year late.
They did it 3 years late.
I mean, no, but if you're going to completely bottom out, wouldn't have this been the season to do it to try to get Victor Wembanyama? Like the stuff that it's way too early, but the stuff about next year's draft, it doesn't sound as great. Like, Scoop, Brandon Miller, all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
like,
I bet they'll turn around in 1 year to where the drafts after that won't matter.
Yeah, but still, like, it's just, it's just saying, like, this is the year, like, you had a franchise chasing player.
Sure.
It's
the fucking Wizards.
I get it.
But it's what part of this organization, and I'm sure I'm going to get something from Wizards PR because if you have just a hair off on something you say, then you get an email from Wizards PR. But this is a team that has not been good. They've had talent at times. They've been fun at times, but consistently
the Westbrook
good.
years was the best.
Yeah, that might be their biggest accomplishment of the last decade was the Westbrook run in the second half of that COVID season. There's nothing there. Kuzma's going to leave. Porzingis is probably going to leave, and it's going to be, I don't know, Monty Morris and Daniel Gafford. Pick and roll. I'm here for that.
See, if I were a Wizards fan, I'd be super excited about this trade.
No,
not because of the trade itself, but because they finally have a direction that isn't let's go for the 8th seed every year.
Intentionally bad instead of accidentally bad. Yes.
That's it. They are going to bottom out. They have decided to bottom out. They've decided not to be just the totally irrelevant team every year. I would be so happy about this because finally my franchise has decided let's do this the right way. Let's not just try to get the 8th seed. Let's not try to win games with a roster that won't possibly win games. Let's bottom out. Let's create flexibility. Let's start from scratch. And they needed to start from scratch. So I get all the criticism of the trade because you look at it, Chris Paul's not going to play probably a single game for them. Landry Shamet, not very good at all. They didn't get a single outright first-round pick.
That's the issue. That's the problem. And the second-round picks are all Phoenix's picks that are going to be in the high 40s, low to high 50s.
You're not getting it. They were handcuffed the moment they gave him the no trade clause. That's the problem.
They have a direction now. They have a blank canvas now. They're not.
They're
not tied to the mistakes of the previous front office anymore.
You better hope Michael Winger is perfect at drafting.
Yeah,
if he has to be perfect. He has to nail the 8th pick immediately. He doesn't
have to be perfect. They
does.
They can bottom out.
He sure does because he didn't have any other first round picks
on promising young talent. They can do it the right way. They can finally not be irrelevant, and I'm cool with that. I'd be cool with that.
I love when Jay's voice gets all high pitched. Do it.
That's when you know he's full of shit.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Chime. Visit chime.com/NBA show for more information. Good money habits start with your very first paycheck. And if you just scored your first job, you got an opportunity to jumpstart a healthy financial journey. When you sign up for Chime and link a qualifying direct deposit, you get access to benefits like getting paid up to 2 days early and fee-free overdraft up to $200. And with Chime, there are no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and no deposit required to become a member. So sign up for a Chime checking account today to link your paycheck. It only takes 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/NBA show. That's chime.com/NBA show. Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depend on payer. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. See chime.com/spotme.
Let's move on to Chris Paul. Speaking of Chris Paul, he might be with the Wizards. He might not be with the Wizards. I love when you get the trade immediately where you know a team's going to waive a guy to save money. Because they have to waive him by the 28th, and say, well, the trade kicked him up $10 million or something like that. But he essentially losing out on some money this year and then $30 million the season after that, right? And you always get that one like kind of nugget out there of, the Wizards actually would love to have him be a part of this team. That's just an outright. I mean, you might want to trade for this guy if you want him on your roster. Like he might not be the free agent you think he's going to be right away. But Trey, on the Chris Paul kind of wave here, like the Clippers have been mentioned. I've seen some stuff about if he's a free agent, the Lakers being an option. Shams said something about the Warriors being interested. How much like Chris Paul on 30 million is different than Chris Paul on a veteran minimum or one of the exceptions. But Trey, I just don't know how realistic it is for Chris Paul to give you something consistently years 38, 39, 40 of his life.
First of all, go pick up Chris Paul's book, 61. About to come out soon. He's in New York promoting that. Secondly, Chris Paul is one of the smartest people we've ever seen manage to get traded and make $10 million.
That's pretty good, man. That's
right.
Yeah. By the way, good agent there too.
Yes, good agent.
Right. And then he is going to be a Clipper. They're going to dump Eric Gordon. Sorry, Eric Gordon. I feel like Eric Gordon always gets moved and a part of these deals.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
It's a good throw.
But I don't really understand this, especially with two guys that are leaders of this team, and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, adding a very control freak Chris Paul. But Chris Paul is a Clippers legend. Not, he was a part of that turnaround at Lob City and these things of this nature. And he can kind of play for the low now with that. I'm all in for the entertainment purposes of him and Russell Westbrook being on the same team.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I really don't understand this move. I had him potentially, and Jay, you can make the reaction after this, to go to Boston as a Kyle Lowry role in the second unit. I also thought maybe going into a contender like Milwaukee and just kind of not being a starter, but like a second unit guy. Again, at 38, 39, his minutes are between 10 and 23. That's the most realistic. If healthy, you're not trying to get a lot of games played, won't do a lot of back-to-backs, no matter how he wants to fight you. I think he has that one up with the Clippers work that'll allow him to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That has that trust. But for guys that are constantly hurt, and that's not like a dig at them, I wish them the most healthiest season possible in Los Angeles, but this is going to be pure entertainment across the board, no matter what we get.
He's the perfect Clipper. He's going to be injured too.
I mean, but honestly, I think this is setting himself up for his farewell tour.
Yeah.
His potential jersey rafter, raise his statue, he's setting it all up. I knew he was going to go to Lakers. We don't do bossa novas here, but that's for another time. Because the banana boat is not the same. But yeah, so that for him to find out, he said he found out on landing in New York as he was getting ready to do his interview with Good Morning America. So yeah, I mean, at least he's $10 million richer, and he gets to be in LA and not Phoenix.
I actually think it's a pretty good fit with the Clippers if he is healthy. Like, honestly, like, this is a dude that's not going to take a lot of shots.
You get to dust off your old jersey.
I mean, no, forget about all of that stuff. Just on the court, what he can do for them on the court. A guy that's not going to take a lot of shots, but get these guys into sets and run an actual offense for them and make it easier a little bit for Kawhi, make it easier for Paul George, assuming everybody's on the floor at the same time. I think that's actually a good fit for them in that sense on the court. But it comes down to, can he play? Like, and you're saying 10 to 13. I think he's got to play. For you to get that value, it's got to be around 20 minutes a game. And I don't know if he said
15 to 23.
Oh, I thought
10 to 13 minutes.
My mind lost it. Okay, 15 to 23 is perfect. Then never mind. We could scratch my stupid comment from the record.
There, for him to be value, it has to be exactly what you said. Yes.
Yes. My bad. My mistake. But I think he's a good fit for them. I think that's a good spot for him. That's a good landing spot basketball wise for him. I don't think he's a good fit with the Warriors. I like Milwaukee. I like Boston. Those are interesting spots, but I think the Clippers are probably the best landing spot.
Yeah, the Clippers are the spot that I see that makes sense, because that offense has just needed an organizer. That's it. Someone to put Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in the right spots. Now, would you trust that any of those guys would be healthy come playoff time? Nope.
No, but that's the fun of the Clippers.
Right.
But
that's
the
Clippers,
you don't know who's going to show up.
Clippers, they're in such a situation. It's kind of desperation time right now. They're running on fumes with this Kawhi Paul George tandem that hasn't been able to get over the hump so far. And
when does that arena open? 2024?
Yes, I think so.
So this takes you into that of like Kawhi, Paul George, Chris Paul's back. Like,
yeah.
It's good marketing at least, right? Like Jay, it makes sense basketball wise, but they also they got an arena to open up.
They do have an arena to open up.
And that should matter. Like that for the business side of it, that matters.
That's
why the whole
Redick back too. DeAndre Jordan.
Look, Blake Griffin's a free agent. Yeah. DeAndre Jordan's now a champion.
Bring me back. No,
I would go after Darius Miles.
Trying to go for
Darius Miles.
Oh, I was trying to get a job again.
Nah. D Miles and Q, like
Doc Rivers.
Doc is available. Yeah. He could be Ty Lue's assistant.
Yeah. There you go.
Or bring Mo back and then bring Doc back and Doc can fire him again.
Hey, as long as I get another severance check out of it, I'm fine.
It'll be interesting to see like what the send off is for Chris Paul, because he's such a weird figure in NBA history. Like I've talked about this a bunch of times. It's like, if you think about this, Trey, you think about how good he is at his job, how historically good Chris Paul is at basketball, how hard you have to work to, at that size, be that fucking good at what you do. And I don't want to say nobody respects you, but so many people shit on him like, he's not good enough. And I'm like, to me, like,
control freaks are good, man.
I get the criticism of him in his career, but I also look at him like, that dude's so good at basketball. Like he's historically good at basketball.
Yeah,
like he does deserve kind of a proper send off.
And he'll get it. I mean, I think the most part of why people don't, I think it's easy target to pick on sometimes at most. And when you look at it, most fans be like, oh, he's crying or this and that. He has found a way. His mentality is whatever it takes to win.
Yeah,
that's it. And you got to love a guy like that when he's, on your team, but against him, it's like, play basketball. But he knows the rule book. Him and LeBron are two of the players that know the rule book. Draymond too. They know the rule book back and forth and will try to manipulate the game as much as possible to make the game easier. Whether it's telling on another player to get ready to get some extra free throws, attacks, and all this other stuff. And he has been
the snitch line in the bubble, anything.
CP line. I thought it was the CP line. I thought that was
it's the whole thing, man. But like at the end of the day, Chris Paul has been so good. We nicknamed him the point guard for a real reason.
Mm-hmm.
He has had no rivals in this particular situation. And although other point guards are now shining in this situation, the only thing it sucks to hold a ring over his career as a shadow, because that doesn't dictate what it was. You know what I mean? He's beat every allegation as far as going up against Darren Williams, the Rajon Rondos, you know what I mean? Even the modern day, the Kyrie Irving's, you know what I mean? Like these guards, he's outlasted and has been able to work up a amazing career in the past, 18, 19 seasons.
He did the one thing so many players failed at. He lifted the Clippers up.
Yes.
Like, just think about how
he embraced it.
With the shitty ass, yeah, but with the shitty ass owner and Donald Sterling, like he lifted the organization up. He brought it respectability with everything that had. I mean, it was coming a little bit with Blake or whatnot, but he came in and put them on the map.
The Clippers would have screwed that up.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, but like he put
Speaking of Blake, bring him back
on the map. Yep. He put them on the map. And that's kind of like, we don't give him enough credit for lifting a very dog shit organization to the point now where we're like, yo, this is a team that's trying to win a championship, building their own arena and things like that.
Yeah.
The other role, and nobody's really talked about this, maybe he's not open to it. The other role that I would love to see Chris Paul in is as the veteran on a younger team, similar to how he did it in OKC, but obviously with him diminished as a player. Like if I had a young and talented team, like let's say Orlando, right? Like bring him in and have him set a tone of seriousness for those young guys, and just he helped turn around Phoenix. Phoenix is not in the place they're in if Chris Paul didn't get there and show everybody how to work on a daily basis and the focus necessary. They're not anywhere close to where they got. OKC, like he went in there, they made the playoffs. Who knows how he impacted Shai Gilgeous' career just by being there for a season. I think it'd be worth, even like someone like Atlanta, bring him in to back up Trae Young, show Trae Young how it's done. And I have no idea whether Chris Paul would be open to that. He obviously hasn't gotten a ring. He would love one, I'm sure. But if I had a young team with talent, young talented guys like that, I would love to have Chris Paul if that's a role he's willing to embrace.
Today's show is brought to you by Front Door. Download the Front Door app and get a free video chat. We all have that long, incredibly nagging home to-do list that we keep putting off. It's full of annoying stuff that just needs to be fixed. A dripping dishwasher, hole in the drywall, or maybe your dryer is not actually drying your clothes. Well, wouldn't it feel great to get all that done? Well, now you can, and it's easier than ever. Introducing Front Door, the all-new one-stop home repair and maintenance app. Front Door lets you video chat with experts in real time so you can diagnose the problem faster. Sometimes you can fix it yourself on the video chat, or Front Door will send you a list of vetted and trusted pros to come out and help solve the problem. With a Front Door membership, it's easy to cross things off your home to-do list and enjoy that feeling of done. Download the app now and get a free video chat with an expert to start solving your problems today.
Speaking of point guards, Ja Morant. We got the suspension, the long-awaited suspension of what it's going to be. Didn't want to distract from the NBA Finals, so we made a distraction. And then it kind of felt like it was a little built up. We thought it was going to be half a season, maybe a full season. It's 25 games. 25 games is significant. I don't know. I get all the we don't have to relitigate all this shit with Ja, right? Like the situation is a situation. The main thing about this of why he got a heavy suspension is he did it like 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
He did it again 4 weeks later or whatever that was, 5 weeks later. And that is something where I look back to when you had the Gilbert Arenas Javaris Crittenton thing. It's not necessarily that Gilbert Arenas wasn't remorseful. It's that he put it in David Stern's face when he gets back out on the court for the first time and in the introductions does the finger guns in the huddle. David Stern's like, fuck that. You're not gonna play around with my league. Whereas Adam Silver, look, 25 games at what's he gonna make next year? $34 million. Like, so he's missing out on 25 games of an 82 game season with $34 million. Like that's a shitload of money, right? That's a lot of money to miss out on. But I feel like, and I don't even know if it's the right way to go about this, Mo, but there's something between Adam Silver's necessity to be a friend of the players and the hard line that David Stern had. And I think that the right the right leadership for the NBA is finding that somewhere in that middle. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle. It could be more Adam Silver's side than David Stern's side, but there is something there where I look at this, I'm like, all right, so you built that up for 25 games. 25 games is a long suspension, but that's what DeAndre Ayton got for, whatever that amphetamine was that he was, there were supplement that was in his, in whatever shake he was taking that he allegedly didn't know about. Like I don't know. I thought it was kind of a weak suspension, but mostly because it had been built up by his comments before the finals started. So maybe that's just, if he'd come out like immediately and be like, 25 games, I probably would be like, oh shit, that's a big suspension. But the fact that it was built up because of those comments, I'm like, I don't know, 25 is not that many.
I think Adam Silver's bad at the PR stuff. Like, I think that's kind of the deal with that. Because everything you said, right? If this came out of nowhere, if we didn't have anything built up and they said 25 games, it'd be like, damn, I thought it would have been more. Even before it was built up, I thought it would be a lot. But still, like, we would have all been like, wow, that's a lot. Like, that's way too many and all of those things and stuff like that. But yeah, they built it up. So then when it comes down less to what we were thinking, like, I don't know anybody that was saying anything in the 20s. When it was coming to his suspension, I think I was hearing stuff,
40, 41.
Yeah, it was what I was hearing regularly from most people. So like when it comes down this way, it's almost like I don't give Adam Silver credit enough he did this on purpose to soften the react, so everybody be like, okay, well look, it could have been much worse type of situation. I just think he's bad at PR, Zach. I just think it was dumb.
Yeah.
And he's been a very soft soft commissioner in that sense, and leaning more towards the players with all the suspensions we get and have been given out with everything. Like, remember just Jokic a few years ago when he runs over Morris, and Morris never played again that season.
Yeah.
Jokic got 2 games. That was it. He was probably in Serbia with his horses for those 2 games and then flew back, like, for all we know. And I think that's kind of the thing there is I think you touched on it more importantly. Like, Stern was too hard. Silver's too soft. Like, they need to find something in the middle. I don't mind the 25 game suspension. I think that's probably the right number. But like, they did build this thing up, and got to get better with your PR.
Yeah, Jaws already cost himself so much money.
Yeah,
because this 25 games means he won't be all NBA next year. Supermax is gone.
About 50 million.
He caught plus all the game checks that he's missing. He cost himself so much money by continuously making the same mistake. And it's not just the 2 times on Instagram Live. It's the other allegations. It's the other stuff with the guns. It's baffling just how much money he's cost himself by.
Do we think that the lesson has been learned?
I mean, shit, for $304,000 a game and $7.6 million. Hell yeah.
But how can we trust that the lesson has been learned when he just did the same thing, came after the playoffs and said, I know how much I cost my team. I know how much of a distraction I caused, and then did the same thing a month later. How can we trust the lesson has been learned? We can't. Nike came out with a statement. Ja has shown accountability. How many times is this guy going to have to point fucking soft in this, man?
Bro, you got the #1 shoe. That's why. Come on. This is business. Business is business, like Young Thug said. Business is business. We not about to be doing morality and all that other stuff. He has the #1 shoe. Kids don't watch the news. They want colorways. It is what it is, Jay. But at the end of the day, this man lost almost about $50 million, right? If he continues to lose more, that's on him. But part of that 25 games, he has to go through a couple steps before he can return to the team. So
he's got to show Jalen Rose that he's sorry and do it in an interview.
Another interview.
I don't think Jalen Rose gonna get the second.
Yeah, I think Jalen Rose maybe gets bumped on that one.
But at the end of the day, look, that's on him. He can crash out if he won't. $50 million is a lot of money, and he gonna miss basketball more than he gonna be doing this BS. So I think he'll be okay.
You know what's also a lot of money? The 175 he's still getting. That's
right.
Like, he's still getting plus the shoes and like he's still getting a lot. That's where I wonder if it's possible for him to have learned his lesson, right? or likely.
Let's the NBA just go alcoholism, please. I just really just we're just gonna go real political. Like if we're gonna do all that stuff.
I think there's a little bit of a different question I got though. Forget about if Ja learned his lesson. Have the Grizzlies? Are they going to continue to enable him? Are they going to continue to just let him run everything they do?
They gave him a sabbatical that they retroactively made a team suspension. Like, get at it. They're not doing anything.
I mean, second time around, are they going to? But like, continue to have the same mistakes too. Like that's on them as well as an organization and the culture they're building and so on. Like,
I don't even. I mean, I think we talked about this before. Like, I don't even necessarily blame Ja fully at that. Like, you know, like, yeah, Ja's responsible. Don't get me wrong, Ja's responsible for his actions, whether it's a lighter gun or an actual gun or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the standard is the standard that's been set by the previous stuff, right? Like, it's representation, people around him, Nike representatives, the team, the Grizzlies culture, and everything. Like, to me, once the first stuff happens, how you don't try to do everything you can to get him in line. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe they did and he just didn't give a shit. But to me, like, look, he's 23-year-old kid, like with a ton of money coming his way. If you gave me hundreds of millions of dollars to be the star of a league at 23,
shit, I don't know gave it to you now, Zach.
Yeah, I don't know that I would be the greatest role model either, but I know that like certain people around me would be like, you're being a shithead, stop. Right? Like, and there'd be certain people in my life that can influence that behavior, and I don't know that he's had that around him, and I think it's a failure of everything. I think it's a failure of the NBA. I think the NBA didn't come down hard enough the first time, like, and so there were no consequences before. Now we have a consequence. Yeah. Now we see if he wasn't going to learn from the lack of consequences before, right? Now there's an actual consequence. Now we get to see if he'll learn.
Yeah, and Jay, just so you know, if you and I told Zach he was acting like a shithead, it wouldn't change anything. If Trey told him, Trey would change the behavior.
I would listen to Trey. Trey's got wisdom.
Trey, like I said, if Trey said it, you would listen.
Absolutely. Yeah, you two. No, we're Jay's wearing a football jersey. He's in his 30s and he's married. Like, I'm not gonna.
Josh,
I'm not going to listen to him for.
That's a nasty Patriots era color.
Ugly ass Patriots jersey, man.
Josh Gordon, the Patriots throwbacks are fire.
And if you watch us on YouTube, you could see it.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing it's a throwback because I don't think you have any future success.
The one weird thing about the Josh stuff is like the things he's been suspended for is actually probably like the least bothersome stuff that he's done. He's just waving guns on Instagram to songs, right? And it's stupid, but it's whatever. Like when he's going to Foot Locker and threatening employees, when he's with the 17-year-old kid and flashing his gun to that kid, like that's the stuff that to me is, and obviously they couldn't prove that stuff or didn't have it ironed out or whatever, but it's just the whole pattern is just really troubling.
Hey, this is how I know.
I hope he gets okay.
This is how I know there's progress, right? The guy who was doing the Instagram live the second time, he put the phone down. Second jaw flash that, whatever that was, he put the phone down.
I just want to know who spotted that. Like,
that's gross.
There was like 100 people on that.
I could tell you offline who spotted that. All right, that's gonna do it for this edition of the Basket Buds. Make sure you check out all of our draft coverage coming up this week. We're going to have a live draft show. I think the three of us are going to be on it at some point. I think, Trey, we're not going to make you do that. Don't worry. But we are going to be doing the draft live for, I don't know, probably the first 20 picks or so. We'll see how quickly that thing goes. We'll have all your reactions to the picks. We'll have all your reactions to the trades. And make sure you check out all the offseason coverage on The Athletic. Subscribe to The Bounce. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for this very show so you can see that horrific Patriots jersey that Jay King is wearing. For Mo, for Jay, for Trey, for Dave, for Josh Gordon, I'm Zach. Keep it locked on The Athletic.